Welcome to Sleepy Science. You think you know yourself, but most of who you are has never been noticed, not even once. Tonight, your mind will witness strange personality truths, tiny secrets that move without you trying. They will slow your thoughts. They will whisper who you really are. This isn't about labels or tests. It's about what hides in the quiet spaces of your mind. Even now, it's still moving, even as you rest. Stay with me. Subscribe to Sleepy Science and let curiosity guide you into sleep. Most people think personality lives in clear places, in traits, in test results, in labels that feel neat and finished. You are told you are shy or confident, logical or emotional, quiet or expressive. These words feel solid, so the mind accepts them. But personality does not sit inside words. It does not wait inside a result. It moves somewhere else, somewhere smaller, where most people never look. Personality shows itself in tiny moments, in the pause before you answer a question, in the way you read a message twice before replying, in how your attention drifts when a room becomes quiet. These moments pass too fast to notice, yet they shape you more than any description ever could. They happen without effort, which is why they feel invisible. Think about the choices you make without thinking, which seat you choose, how fast you walk when no one is watching, whether you check your phone again even when there is nothing new. These are not habits alone. They are expressions, soft signals of how your mind prefers to move through the world. Personality lives in these quiet preferences, not in the stories you tell about yourself. There is something interesting about moments that feel automatic. They do not ask for attention. They do not announce themselves. Yet they repeat again and again. Personality uses repetition like a language. It does not speak loudly. It repeats gently until a pattern forms. And patterns are easier to follow than to question. You may think personality shows up when you act, but it often appears when you hesitate. That small delay before action says more than the action itself. It reveals how your mind checks the world before stepping forward. Some people pause longer, some shorter. Most never notice their own timing, but timing is not random. It is personal. Even reactions you believe are normal are shaped by this unseen system. The way you react to silence, the way you react to sudden sound, the way you feel when plans change. These reactions rise before thought has time to form words. Personality works faster than language. That is why explaining it always feels incomplete. When awareness fades, personality does not stop. It becomes clearer in some ways. When you are tired, the performance layer drops. You stop correcting yourself. You stop editing reactions. What remains is closer to the core. That is why late-night thoughts feel different, less filtered, more honest. Personality steps forward when control steps back. There is a reason certain thoughts return when you are half asleep. They are not chosen by logic. They are selected by familiarity. Personality prefers what it recognizes, even if it is unfinished, even if it is strange. This preference shapes the direction of the mind without asking permission. You are not choosing every thought you think. You are not choosing every reaction you feel. Personality is doing part of that work for you, quietly, efficiently, without noise. It does not need your attention to function. In fact, it works best when you stop watching it. Most people look for personality in strong emotions, but it lives just as much in neutral moments, in boredom, in waiting, in doing nothing. What your mind does when there is nothing to do is one of the clearest signs of who you are. Does it search? Does it wander? Does it rest? Each response is different and none are random. Personality also lives in what you ignore, what you skip over without effort, what never pulls your focus. These absences matter. They guide the shape of your attention, and attention over time becomes identity. You slowly become what your mind chooses to notice. Even breathing patterns carry traces of personality, not the act itself but the rhythm. Some people breathe deeper when alone. Some breathe faster in silence. These changes happen without instruction. They are part of the same system that decides how close you stand to others and how long you hold eye contact. When sleep approaches, personality does not shut down. It shifts roles. It stops guiding actions and starts guiding drift. The order of thoughts softens. Logic loosens, but preference remains. Certain ideas feel safer to rest on, others fade away. Personality chooses the mental ground you fall asleep on. This is why two people can hear the same words before sleep and feel completely different responses. One mind holds on, another lets go. The words are the same. The listener is not. Personality filters experience even when consciousness grows thin. You do not need to understand your personality to experience it. It does not ask for analysis. It asks for space. When you stop trying to define who you are, you begin to feel how you are. That feeling is quieter. It does not demand attention. It simply continues. The mystery is not that personality exists. The mystery is that it works so well without being seen. It guides thousands of small moments every day, then disappears into the background. It waits for tiredness, for stillness, for the moment when the mind stops reaching outward. As you listen now, your personality is already responding. It is choosing how closely to follow, how deeply to sink, how much to let go. You do not need to help it. You never did. During the day, your personality is often busy performing. It adjusts itself to rooms, faces, and voices. It learns when to speak and when to hold back. Even when you feel relaxed, some part of you is still paying attention, watching reactions, measuring tone, making small changes. This happens so smoothly that it feels natural, but it is still effort. At night, that effort begins to fade. The world grows quieter. Expectations loosen. There are fewer signals telling you how to act. This is when a different side of personality starts to show. Not a louder one, a truer one. The version that does not need to explain itself. When no one is watching, reactions change. You may notice thoughts that would never appear in daylight. Questions without clear answers. Feelings without clear causes. These are not mistakes of the mind. They are parts of you that only feel safe when observation disappears. Darkness plays a role in this shift. When vision softens, the brain stops scanning for cues. It no longer checks faces or body language. Without these signals, personality no longer needs to adjust. It relaxes into its own shape. This is why nighttime thoughts feel less structured and more honest. There is a self that exists only when you are unobserved. It does not care how it appears. It does not edit reactions. It does not rush to make sense. This self is not dramatic. It is quiet and steady. It watches without judgment. Most people meet this part of themselves only briefly, then fall asleep before noticing it fully. You may think this hidden personality is created by tiredness, but it was always there. Daylight simply keeps it covered. Social awareness acts like a filter, shaping expression and behavior. When the filter lifts, what remains feels unfamiliar, even though it is deeply yours. Notice how your thoughts behave at night. They move differently. They wander without direction. They connect ideas that would seem unrelated during the day. This is not randomness. It is personality exploring without rules, without deadlines, without being useful. There is less pressure to decide at night. Fewer choices feel urgent. This allows personality to reveal preferences that stay hidden when speed is required. What your mind drifts toward in stillness says more than what it chooses under pressure. Some people feel more themselves at night. Others feel strange and distant. Both responses are expressions of personality. The way you handle quiet is personal. The way you handle freedom from watching eyes is personal too. At night, memory also behaves differently. It stops organizing itself by importance. Small moments rise. Old scenes return without warning. Personality selects these memories, not logic. It chooses what feels unfinished or gentle enough to hold in the dark. There is a reason certain ideas feel heavier during the day but lighter at night. Observation adds weight. When you are seen, even by yourself, thoughts feel more real. When you are unobserved, thoughts can float without needing answers. This is why worries often soften when lights go off. They are still there, but they lose their sharp edges. Personality no longer needs to defend itself. It does not need to prepare for response. It can simply exist. You might notice changes in how you imagine the future at night. Plans become less detailed. Outcomes blur. This is not avoidance. It is a natural shift away from control. Personality steps back from directing and allows drifting to take over. The hidden self does not want resolution. It wants space. It wants permission to wander without being useful. This is why trying to force clarity before sleep often fails. The mind resists being shaped when it is trying to rest. When awareness fades, personality does something interesting. It stops presenting itself and starts observing itself. This quiet watching feels different from thinking. There are fewer words, more feeling, more presence without focus. This unobserved self does not disappear in the morning. It simply retreats. It waits for the next moment of stillness, for the next night, for the next time attention loosens its grip. As you listen now, you are closer to this hidden layer than you realize. You do not need to search for it. You only need to stop performing. Let the mind dim. Let the watching eyes fade. What remains is already there. Some thoughts return again and again, not because you invite them, not because they are loud. They return because they feel familiar. The brain is drawn to what it knows, even when it does not help. This pull is quiet. It works in the background. Most people never question it. These repeating thoughts are not habits in the usual sense. They are not trained or practiced on purpose. They are chosen gently, like a path your feet follow without asking. Personality plays a role here, not by force but by preference. It leans toward what feels known. Imagine walking through a field with many paths. You could choose anyone, but your body moves toward the one already pressed into the ground, not because it is better, because it is easier to recognize. Thoughts work the same way. Familiar thoughts feel smoother to enter. The brain likes low resistance. It likes paths that require less effort. Personality learns which thoughts feel easier to hold and returns to them without discussion. This is why some ideas feel automatic, even when they do not match your current situation. You may notice this most when your mind is tired. New thoughts require energy. Familiar ones glide in quietly. Personality does not argue with this. It cooperates. It allows gravity to do the work. Mental gravity is not emotional. It is structural. It pulls thoughts inward toward known shapes. Even neutral ideas can repeat if they feel familiar enough. The brain is not asking if they are useful. It is asking if they are easy. This is why some thoughts appear during quiet moments, in the shower, before sleep, during waiting. When attention loosens, gravity becomes stronger. Thoughts settle where they have settled before. You might think repetition means importance, but that is not always true. Repetition often means comfort, or at least predictability. The brain values predictability more than truth when energy is low. Personality shapes this preference slowly. Over time, certain thoughts become landmarks. The mind knows how to approach them, knows where they lead. Even if the destination is unclear, the journey feels familiar. This does not mean you are stuck. Paths can change, but change requires awareness, and awareness requires energy. When energy fades, gravity returns. Notice how thoughts arrive without announcement. They do not ask permission. They simply appear. Personality does not summon them directly. It sets the conditions that allow them to enter easily. This is why fighting thoughts often fails. Resistance adds energy. Energy feeds gravity. The more force you use, the stronger the pull feels. Letting a thought pass requires less effort than pushing it away. At night, mental gravity becomes very clear. With fewer distractions, thoughts fall into their usual patterns. This can feel repetitive, but it is also revealing. It shows you where your mind naturally settles. Some people return to planning, others to imagining, others to observing without words. These differences are not random. They reflect how personality organizes attention. You may notice the same thought appearing in different forms, different words, same shape. This is gravity at work. The surface changes, but the pull remains. Personality does not care about variety when resting. It cares about ease. Familiar thoughts feel safe to rest on. Unknown ones feel unstable. This is why new ideas often arrive when you are alert, not when you are tired. Alertness lifts gravity. It allows the mind to explore higher ground. Rest brings settling. There is nothing wrong with this settling. It is part of how the mind protects itself. Repetition creates predictability. Predictability creates calm. As you listen now, your mind may already be choosing familiar paths. That is fine. You do not need to guide it. Gravity knows where to go. If a thought repeats, notice it gently. Not to stop it, just to see it. Awareness does not break gravity, but it softens it. Over time, noticing creates space. New paths appear naturally, not by force, by curiosity. For now, let the mind settle where it wants. Personality will guide it quietly, just as it always has. There are parts of your personality you will likely never notice, not because they are hidden, but because they feel too normal to question. They blend into daily life so well that they disappear. You live inside them the way you live inside air. Think about how you start your day, the order of small actions, the speed, the silence or noise you prefer. None of this feels special. That is exactly why it matters. Personality hides best inside what feels obvious. Dramatic traits are easy to see, strong emotions, big reactions, clear preferences, but these are only surface movements. The deeper parts stay quiet. They work in the background, shaping everything without asking to be seen. Notice how you move through familiar spaces, how you walk through a room, where your eyes go first, how close you stand to objects. These choices feel automatic. You never stop to explain them, yet they repeat every day with precision. Normality is powerful because it never asks for attention. It does not interrupt. It does not surprise. Personality uses this to stay hidden. It builds itself into routines so stable that they feel like facts of life. You might believe your personality shows when you make big decisions, but it shows more clearly in small ones. When you choose what to delay, what to skip, what to do without thinking. These moments carry no drama, so they pass unnoticed. There is a way you listen that feels natural to you, the timing of your responses, the amount of silence you allow. Some people fill gaps quickly, others let space stretch. Both feel normal to the person doing them. Both are deeply personal. The mind rarely questions what feels consistent. Consistency feels safe. Personality relies on this safety. It hides in patterns that never cause trouble, that never demand explanation. This is why self-description often misses the truth. You describe what stands out, not what repeats quietly. But repetition shapes identity more than intensity ever could. Consider how you react to waiting. Not frustration or calm, but what your mind does while waiting. Does it scan? Does it drift? Does it focus inward? These responses happen without thought. They feel like nothing is happening, but something is always happening. Personality also hides in what does not bother you, what others complain about that you barely notice. This absence of reaction is not emptiness. It is preference so stable that it feels invisible. The most defining parts of you rarely announce themselves. They do not arrive with emotion or insight. They arrive as familiarity, as the sense that things are simply the way they are. You may think you know yourself well, but most of what you know comes from contrast, from moments when something breaks pattern. The rest remains unseen because it never breaks. Normality acts like camouflage. It blends personality into the background of daily life, making it hard to isolate, hard to name, easy to miss. This camouflage is not a flaw. It allows you to move through the world without constant self-awareness, without having to explain every action to yourself. Personality works best when it does not interrupt experience. At night, when activity slows, this normality becomes easier to sense. Without tasks and roles, subtle patterns become louder. The way your mind settles, the pace it prefers, the thoughts it allows. Even then, it does not feel strange. It still feels normal. That is the trick. The most personal parts feel the least remarkable. As you listen now, notice what feels obvious, what feels like nothing is happening. That quiet is not empty. It is full of structure, full of preference, full of you. You do not need to search for your personality. You are already moving inside it. The mystery is not where it hides. The mystery is how well it convinces you it was never there at all. Even forgotten moments leave traces. Moments you think are lost continue to influence how you respond. Memory is not only what you can recall. It is the quiet background of your mind, an atmosphere in which personality moves, rather than a list of facts. You may not remember the first time you felt embarrassed in school, or the exact words someone said to hurt you. Yet those moments shape the way you respond to attention now. You may step back before speaking, or smile automatically to ease tension. Personality carries these influences without explanation. Memory works in layers. Some parts rise clearly when called, others sink deep, almost invisible. These deeper layers are stronger than the obvious ones. They guide reactions in ways you barely notice. Even when you feel calm, memory is at work, shaping your choices. The mind does not always need clarity. Sometimes it works better in shadows. Forgotten moments create patterns of response that feel natural. You react a certain way not because you think it is right, but because memory has set a silent path. Personality follows that path without asking. Think about how you handle surprise or sudden change. Some people pause, some move quickly. These responses are often influenced by events long forgotten. Perhaps a lesson learned without noticing. Perhaps a small scare that left no clear memory. The traces remain. Memory also influences what you notice. Your attention is guided by past experience, not only present circumstance. You are drawn to some details and ignore others. Personality filters these choices quietly, using memory as a guide. Even small habits carry echoes of the past. How you arrange objects, the way you prepare food, how you organize your time. These are not just routines. They are memory in motion. They shape personality without requiring thought. Emotions themselves are colored by memory. The feeling you carry in a conversation is not only about the present words, it is also about echoes from similar moments. The brain blends these traces automatically. Personality moves through these emotional landscapes as naturally as walking through a room. You may notice that some reactions seem too strong or too weak. You wonder why a small comment bothers you, or why something serious barely touches you. Often these are guided by memory layers you cannot access consciously. Personality absorbs them and continues to shape behavior quietly. Memory is not precise. It changes over time. Events once vivid fade, details blur, yet their effect on personality remains. This is why you can feel influence from moments you cannot describe. The mind stores atmosphere, not exact files. Even in moments of stillness, memory is present. Thoughts arise without clear origin. A word, an image, a fleeting feeling. These are not random. They are personality responding to memory's hidden architecture. The mind is quietly active even in rest. Sleep itself strengthens these invisible links. The brain processes the day and blends it with old experiences. Personality is guided by this merging. You wake slightly different each day, not in obvious ways, but in subtle gestures and preferences. Memory is never still. Personality also uses absence as a guide. Things you do not remember may be more influential than those you do. Forgetting is selective. The brain decides what becomes clear and what becomes invisible. These invisible memories form the soft foundation on which personality builds. Even imagination is shaped by memory. When you picture someone or something, you are not creating entirely new images. You are weaving traces of past experiences. Personality interacts with this imaginary space as if it were reality. It moves, reacts, and prefers certain ideas over others. Notice how some sounds or smells suddenly feel familiar, not because you remember consciously, but because memory has placed them in a quiet context. Personality responds with comfort, tension, or curiosity. The response feels natural. The influence remains hidden. You do not need to analyze memory to feel its effect. Personality absorbs it automatically. It does not explain itself. It simply acts. You may sense consistency in your reactions, stability in preferences. These are gifts of memory working in silence. Even the way you read or listen now carries traces of the past. The pace of attention, what catches focus, what slips by unnoticed. Personality chooses these paths silently, guided by memory's hidden hand. Some moments you think are forgotten never truly disappear. They remain as atmosphere, shaping personality gently. They create subtle biases, preferences, and tendencies. These are invisible yet constant. They are the quiet architects of who you are. As you lie still, notice how memory continues to move beneath awareness. It does not demand attention. It does not need recognition. Yet personality carries its influence through each thought, each preference, each reaction. This hidden work is why you feel familiar with yourself, even when surprised. Why some responses feel natural without understanding why. Memory is not a record. It is a living backdrop. Personality flows through it as naturally as water through a stream, unseen, quiet, unending. Even as sleep approaches, this silent guidance continues. Personality is shaped by what you have forgotten, and it will continue quietly while your mind becomes still. Some parts of you feel older than others, not in years, not in obvious ways, but in the way you react, the way you pause, the way certain thoughts arrive fully formed. These moments carry a weight that feels ancient. Other reactions feel fresh, immediate, new. Personality is not uniform. It is layered in time. When you notice this, it feels strange. How can one mind hold both old and new? The answer is in subtle memory, in quiet experience, in patterns repeated so often they feel permanent. These layers are not conscious. They are woven into responses, into preferences, into the pace of attention. You may feel hesitation in some situations, a small, slow pull backward before speaking or acting. That hesitation carries age. It is older than the present moment. Not because of a memory you can recall, but because personality has carried it across invisible paths. These paths are older than the decisions you make now. Contrast this with the moments that feel new. Quick insights, sudden creativity, reactions that arrive without familiar weight. These feel like freshness because they have little history. Personality experiences them without the echo of past patterns. They are unburdened. The mind is never a single time. It moves in layers. Some layers are calm and experienced. Others are curious and untested. Personality is the sum of these layers. They coexist quietly, interacting without announcement. You may feel this as tension or as comfort, depending on the moment. Sometimes you will notice thoughts or reactions that feel strangely old. They repeat without reason. You wonder why you pause, why you hesitate, why some decisions feel inevitable. These are not mistakes. They are ancient threads within personality, threads that guide silently, often unnoticed. Other parts of your mind feel immediate. The response is sharp, clean, new. You can trace it to the present and it feels fully in the moment. These are the fresh layers of personality, unshaped by invisible repetition. They contrast with the older layers, highlighting the depth of your mind. Time within personality is flexible. One reaction can feel old, while another, seconds later, feels brand new. The same idea can carry both weight and lightness. Personality does not move in straight lines. It exists in a web of time, layering one reaction over another without visible structure. You may notice that some preferences feel permanent. The way you organize space, the way you notice small details. These feel older because they have been selected countless times. They have survived quiet tests of familiarity. Personality relies on them as anchors. Yet even these anchors are paired with novelty. Small choices, small improvisations show personality's capacity for the new. The mind balances old and new, comfort and exploration, prediction and surprise. These layers do not compete openly. They work quietly together. Some reactions feel heavier than others. Not emotional weight, but temporal weight. You may feel hesitation that slows thought, a pattern that returns despite reason. This weight is a sign of personality layered in time. It feels familiar because it has always existed, even if you never noticed. New reactions arrive lightly, a spark of recognition or interest. They feel temporary until repeated. Then, over time, they may gain age. Personality grows old slowly. It does not recognize the passing of time in the usual way. Some reactions age quickly. Others remain new for decades. Notice how even small gestures carry this quality. The way you adjust posture, the way you pause in conversation, the choice to speak or remain silent. Some gestures feel worn, familiar, older than the mind around them. Others feel spontaneous, like they appeared only now. You may wonder why old reactions persist while new ones appear alongside them. The answer lies in energy and selection. Personality keeps what has proven stable. It allows novelty where it can be safe. It balances layers in quiet, unseen ways. Time distortion in personality is not linear. It does not follow clocks or dates. It follows patterns and influence. One small reaction may carry echoes of countless unseen experiences. Another may arise in pure present, untouched by repetition. Personality navigates both effortlessly. Even thoughts can carry this age. Some ideas feel familiar before you speak them. Others surprise you as if you never considered them. Both are aspects of personality. Both are equally real. Both coexist. The older thoughts feel weighty. The newer ones feel light. This layering creates subtle tension, not conflict but contrast. Some parts of you may hesitate while others act. Some feelings linger while others vanish quickly. Personality holds both simultaneously, without notice, without explanation. Notice how your attention moves across time internally. You may revisit familiar ideas effortlessly. At the same time, you encounter new ideas that feel distant, unexplored. The mind accommodates both. Personality does not privilege one layer over another. Even in quiet moments like resting or preparing for sleep, this layering persists. Some reactions carry history. Some responses arrive untested. Some preferences feel ancient. Others feel invented. Personality is the sum of all these layers, quietly shaping experience. You may feel a strange sense of familiarity in some thoughts at night. They feel older than memory allows. They are not errors. They are evidence of layered time inside your personality. And this layering is continuous. It never stops working, even when you are unaware. Understanding this does not require effort. Awareness is enough. Simply noticing that some parts of you feel older than others gives a sense of depth. Personality reveals itself in the interplay between age and novelty. It is quiet. It is constant. It is endless. As you listen now, sense the layers within yourself. Some thoughts arrive with weight, some with lightness. Some gestures carry invisible history. Some ideas feel brand new. Personality holds all of this at once, guiding reactions without explanation, quietly shaping who you are while you rest. Your personality does not stay in the mind alone. It moves through the body quietly, almost invisibly. Small gestures, tiny pauses, subtle shifts in posture, these are the ways personality leaks into the world. You may never notice them, yet they reveal who you are more clearly than words ever could. Notice the way your hands rest when you are thinking. Some people clench lightly. Others relax. Some fingers tap gently, almost without rhythm. These movements feel automatic, but they are expressions of preference and pattern. Personality moves through them like water through cracks in stone. Breathing carries personality too, not in the obvious sense of deep or shallow, but in the rhythm and pace. Some people pause slightly before inhaling. Some exhale slowly, as if savoring the air. These tiny patterns reflect the mind's quiet tendencies. They are invisible to the casual observer but present in every moment. Even the way you tilt your head, lean forward, or shift weight from one foot to another tells a story. These micro gestures happen without thought. They are not learned behaviors. They are expressions of personality that exist below conscious control. You cannot fake them easily because they are born from internal preference. The subtle timing of movements is also part of this. How long you pause before responding. How quickly you adjust when something changes in your environment. These pauses are not random. They are signals from the quiet layers of personality, showing patterns of anticipation, comfort, or caution. Personality often expresses itself in how you occupy space. Some people take up more room without realizing it. Others shrink slightly, almost invisibly. Neither is better or worse. Both are honest expressions of internal preference, revealed in the way the body moves without instruction. Even the way your eyes shift can reflect personality. The frequency of glances. The way focus moves across a room. These are not habits you form consciously. They are expressions of subtle attention patterns. Personality flows into every small glance and gaze, leaking out in moments you think are empty. Small gestures often escape notice because they are normal. You do not think about adjusting your sleeve or brushing a strand of hair from your face. Yet these movements carry rhythm and preference. They show how your mind wants to interact with the world. Some gestures are repeated often. Others appear only in rare moments, revealing hidden layers. The speed of movements is another sign. Quick gestures feel urgent. Slow gestures feel deliberate. But even slow gestures can be automatic. They reflect preference, not decision. Personality guides the pace quietly and the mind rarely notices. Some gestures feel comforting. A slight stretch. A hand resting lightly on an object. A gentle tap of fingers. These gestures may happen in isolation, without audience or awareness. Personality expresses itself quietly, finding small ways to move and exist in the body. You may notice pauses in speech or action. Some people insert micro-pauses between sentences or movements. Some pause slightly when listening. These are not mistakes. They are expressions of how the mind moves. Personality shapes timing subtly, giving rhythm to thought and movement. Even habits of posture reveal personality. How you sit when alone, how you adjust to fit space, how you balance weight. These adjustments feel automatic but are chosen in patterns long ingrained. They leak preference, comfort, and attention, all without conscious thought. The way you react physically to surprises also carries personality. A small startle, a shift backward or forward, a quick breath. These reactions are immediate, they are not rehearsed. Personality shows itself clearly here in instinct without explanation. Micro gestures also appear when listening. The way the head tilts, the slight lift of an eyebrow, the position of hands or fingers. These are subtle signals of attention, curiosity, or hesitation. Personality is embedded in each movement, guiding response without announcing itself. Some movements repeat daily, almost imperceptibly. Others appear only in rare moments, showing facets of personality that remain hidden most of the time. Both are part of the body's ongoing expression. The familiar gestures comfort, the rare gestures reveal. Even when lying down, preparing for sleep, personality moves through the body. Small shifts of limbs, adjustments of blankets or pillow, micro pauses in breath. Personality is present even in stillness, guiding comfort, easing tension, shaping how rest begins. Notice how these gestures feel natural. You do not plan them. You do not consider their meaning. Yet they communicate who you are, silently, to yourself and the world. Personality cannot hide completely because the body is always active. Small expressions often feel insignificant, but they are powerful. They reveal preferences, priorities, and patterns. They carry age, weight, and newness just like thoughts. Personality leaks through them in a continuous, quiet flow. Even imagination moves the body slightly. A thought may lift a finger. A mental image may tilt the head. Personality is active, responding to internal ideas as naturally as external events. These micro-movements are unnoticed, yet they are evidence of the mind in motion. The quiet gestures continue when the mind relaxes for sleep. Personality no longer directs large action. It guides comfort, rhythm, and ease. Even subtle adjustments are influenced by personality's unseen hand. Each movement, each breath, each pause is shaped by unseen preference. As you rest, notice your body. Notice how it moves without command. Personality flows through you silently. You do not need to act. You do not need to observe. The body expresses the mind's hidden patterns. It leaks personality into everything you do, even when no one is watching. This subtle expression is ongoing. Personality never truly stops. Even stillness carries its imprint. Even small gestures, unnoticed and quiet, are alive with pattern, history, and preference. They are the physical signature of who you are. Personality is not completely your own. Some of it comes from others, quietly absorbed without awareness. You may notice it in small ways. The tone you use in conversation, a phrase that sounds like someone else's, a reaction that feels familiar even though it is not entirely yours. Personality borrows these fragments effortlessly. This borrowing is not imitation. You are not copying. It is more subtle, almost like catching a shadow. You encounter a way of speaking, a way of moving, a way of feeling, and it leaves a trace. You carry it without realizing it. It integrates seamlessly into your own patterns. Emotional residue is one of the clearest examples. Being around someone calm may leave you calmer later. Being near someone tense may leave traces of caution or alertness. These are not habits you choose. They are absorbed experiences. Personality stores them quietly. Social echoes are everywhere. A laugh you find yourself using, a gesture that slips into your movements, a phrase you repeat without thinking. These echoes are not copied consciously. They are integrated into your style, into the flow of personality, until they feel like they were always yours. Even the smallest tones can carry influence. The way someone speaks a single word, the emphasis they put on a sentence, the softness or sharpness of their voice. These details linger. Personality borrows them, not consciously, but naturally, as if adding tools to a kit you didn't know you had. You may notice differences between private and public selves. When alone, certain fragments vanish. When with others, they appear. Personality adjusts, recalling the borrowed elements that fit the context. Some fragments remain permanently. Others appear only in social resonance. This is why your behavior sometimes surprises you. A tone you never use in thought suddenly emerges in conversation. A phrase that feels out of place. These are not errors. They are borrowed pieces of personality, temporarily visible, integrated into your moment-to-moment self. You may borrow without realizing from people you never interact with directly. Books, movies, music, or voices you hear repeatedly leave traces. Personality is a sponge. It absorbs patterns that feel useful, interesting, or safe. Over time, these fragments blend with your natural tendencies until they feel familiar. Borrowed personality does not erase originality. It enriches it. Your unique style is still yours, but it is layered, subtle, complex. Small fragments interact with natural tendencies to create new patterns of thought, movement, and reaction. This is why no two personalities are exactly alike. Even silence carries borrowed influence. Spending time with a quiet person may adjust how you occupy space in silence. You may notice pauses longer or shorter than usual. Your gestures may change subtly in ways that feel different yet natural. Personality integrates these influences invisibly. The process is ongoing. Every interaction leaves a trace, no matter how brief. Personality is porous. It absorbs, filters, and incorporates these traces without interrupting thought. The borrowed pieces work like instruments in an orchestra, harmonizing with what is already present. You may wonder why some reactions feel familiar but strange. You feel them as your own, yet they carry a resonance from someone else. These are the fragments speaking. Personality blends the foreign with the native, so seamlessly that noticing is rare. This borrowing can shape preferences, the way you enjoy humor, the way you respond to conflict, the way you express curiosity or caution. These elements may have roots outside yourself, yet they integrate naturally. Personality does not distinguish between original and borrowed once integrated. Even small gestures and micro-movements can be borrowed. The tilt of the head, the way fingers tap, the rhythm of steps. These are subtle influences, but they carry meaning. Personality absorbs them silently and incorporates them as its own. Some fragments are temporary. They appear when needed in response to context. Others become permanent, layered into personality over time. The temporary fragments may vanish when alone, leaving only permanent ones behind. Personality remembers the useful, discards the unnecessary, and merges the rest seamlessly. This borrowing explains why people can feel familiar instantly. You meet someone, and a part of their behavior resonates, not because you recognize them consciously, but because your personality has absorbed similar fragments before. It recognizes echoes, reacts, and responds. You may notice patterns of language or movement repeating across different social groups. Personality links these fragments into coherent response systems. You do not consciously plan it. The mind selects, integrates and harmonizes quietly, creating a seamless personality experience. Even moods can be borrowed. Being around someone joyful may subtly shift your own mood, leaving traces hours later. Being around someone anxious may increase vigilance or tension. Personality incorporates these emotional fragments without signaling their origin. You might notice that some borrowed elements feel easier to express than others. Some flow naturally. Some resist integration. Personality negotiates these differences constantly, smoothing edges and creating balance. What feels seamless is the result of quiet, ongoing adjustment. This blending of self and borrowed elements creates complexity. Personality is never purely yours. It is never purely someone else's. It is a combination, layered, nuanced, and dynamic. The fragments interact with each other, sometimes amplifying, sometimes softening influence. Even in private, borrowed fragments persist subtly. A tone in thought, a habitual posture, a way of pausing before responding. These fragments stay woven into personality, even when social context disappears. They become part of the unseen architecture of self. As you lie still, notice how fragments of others may have shaped reactions, patterns, and preferences. Personality is never isolated. It is a living combination, quietly absorbing, harmonizing, and expressing the echoes of countless people and moments. This silent borrowing continues even when you rest. Personality is porous. It takes in fragments, integrates them, and allows the mind to move naturally. Every interaction leaves a trace, and personality carries them forward, weaving them into the fabric of who you are. Personality is not purely personal. It is collective, layered, and subtle. Every word, every gesture, every tone from others leaves quiet traces. You carry them effortlessly without noticing. And in this quiet absorption, personality grows richer, deeper, and more mysterious than any single origin could explain. Silence is not empty. It is alive, moving through the mind in ways you cannot see. When noise disappears, personality begins to behave differently. It slows, stretches, and rearranges itself quietly. The patterns you follow in sound begin to shift. The mind settles in a new rhythm. Even small silences are powerful. A pause between conversations. A quiet moment before sleep. These moments are not neutral. They are active forces shaping how you think, feel, and move. Personality responds immediately even if you do not notice. When silence arrives, pacing changes, thoughts stretch, reactions expand, micropauses lengthen. The mind no longer pushes to fill space. Personality relaxes its usual control, exploring softer patterns that are usually hidden under noise. You may notice your body changes too. Breathing slows slightly. Posture softens. Movements become smaller, more deliberate. The silence guides this adjustment. Personality follows its rhythm without instruction. It adapts. It listens. Silence also reshapes internal timing. Moments that felt urgent before lose their edge. Personality no longer hurries to react. Decisions that seemed pressing become lighter. The mind gains room to pause and feel without interference. You might notice thoughts arriving differently. They stretch longer. Connections form in unusual ways. Ideas that seemed separate begin to relate. Personality experiments in silence, finding paths it cannot see in noise. Even reactions to simple things shift. A glance, a gesture, a pause in speech. They are slower, softer, more thoughtful. Personality expresses subtlety that noise usually masks. Small elements that went unnoticed before become visible to the mind itself. Silence can feel strange at first. The mind expects sound. The body expects movement, but as it continues, personality adapts. It slows naturally, not by effort but by adjustment. Patterns rearrange themselves quietly, like pieces settling into a puzzle. Notice how your attention behaves. In noise, attention jumps, guided by sound and movement. In silence, it stretches. Personality no longer needs to chase stimulus. It can observe, reflect, and extend awareness. This creates a deeper, slower internal experience. Even the timing of emotions changes. Reactions become measured. Immediate responses soften. Personality experiments with patience. Feelings stretch, becoming broader and more subtle. The mind can experience depth without effort. Silence also allows personality to notice what usually goes unseen. Subtle gestures, tiny shifts in thought, preferences that hide under activity. Personality becomes more aware of itself in quiet, revealing layers normally invisible in noise. When silence surrounds you, small choices gain significance. The way you move, the way you breathe, the small decisions of attention, all feel more pronounced. Personality responds to the environment, adjusting patterns with gentle precision. Even the way imagination works changes. Thoughts expand, ideas connect differently, creativity takes subtle turns. Personality can explore internal space more freely without external sounds interrupting. The mind finds paths it rarely travels. Silence also affects timing in conversation. When quiet is present, pauses lengthen. Personality no longer rushes to fill gaps. Words, gestures, and reactions arrive slowly, deliberately, shaped by the space around them. You may notice that comfort increases. Not physically alone, but in being present. Personality relaxes into itself. The usual performance of thought softens. Patterns that were rigid loosen. The mind finds rhythm without effort. Even in anticipation of sleep, silence is powerful. The absence of noise allows personality to prepare. Micro-patterns adjust. Breathing and posture settle. Thoughts slow. The mind becomes easier to rest because personality has already shifted. Silence shapes how attention flows internally. Thoughts stretch. Mental pauses lengthen. Personality chooses what to notice, not in urgency, but in quiet observation. The mind experiences subtle timing it rarely allows during noise. Small sensory details become clearer. The feel of air, the temperature of a surface, tiny changes in light. Personality responds to these subtleties. Awareness expands gently. Nothing demands action, but everything contributes to experience. Even habitual patterns adjust. Movements slow. Gestures soften. Tiny reactions lengthen. Personality expresses itself more completely, more subtly, in ways that usually go unnoticed in the rush of noise. Silence does not erase personality. It enhances it. It allows subtle layers to emerge. Patterns hidden under constant stimulus reveal themselves naturally. The mind experiences personality in deeper, softer ways. As you prepare for rest, silence becomes a guide. Personality aligns with the quiet, softening pace, stretching reactions, and deepening presence. Thought slows, body follows, breath follows. Everything becomes synchronized with the stillness. Notice how even small adjustments in posture, breathing, or attention feel different in quiet. Personality is not inactive. It is alive, adapting, exploring, and expressing subtly. This is how silence changes who you are. In the quiet, personality learns patience. It learns timing. It learns the value of space and subtlety. Even as you relax, these adjustments build depth. They create an environment where the mind can rest naturally. Every pause, every quiet moment allows personality to reorganize gently. Layers that were hidden in noise emerge. Preferences, patterns, and micro-gestures become visible to the self. This is the secret force of silence. It does not take away personality. It amplifies it quietly. Even as sleep approaches, silence continues to guide personality. Timing, rhythm, and attention remain gentle. The mind slows naturally, guided not by force but by quiet influence. Personality settles into the stillness, preparing the mind for rest without effort. Silence is never empty. It reshapes who you are quietly. Personality stretches, slows, and rearranges itself to fit the calm. Micro patterns, attention, and subtle reactions align with the quiet. Sleep becomes easier because the mind has already begun to adapt. As you lie still, notice how silence affects you. Notice how thoughts stretch, how body moves subtly, how personality feels present yet calm. Silence is shaping the internal rhythm. It is a gentle force that quietly changes who you are, preparing every layer for rest. There is a part of you that never speaks. It is not about being quiet or shy. It does not need words. It observes, feels, and reacts without language. It exists alongside your thinking self, unseen and unheard, yet fully alive. This unspeaking self notices details that words cannot capture. The way light falls across a room, the subtle tension in a person's movement, the quiet patterns of air and sound. It registers without labeling. It watches without judgment. Even your thoughts are not safe from it. While you form ideas in words, this part of personality observes the shape of those ideas. The rhythm, the weight, the subtle pull they create in your mind. It notices how you pause, how you hesitate, and how you feel while thinking. Reaction can happen without explanation. A slight shift in posture, a change in breathing, a tiny movement of hands or eyes. These actions are guided by the unspeaking self. It does not speak because it does not need to. Its influence is felt, not described. This part of personality exists in silence. It does not create dialogue. It does not argue with thoughts. It simply perceives, interprets, and responds. Its language is subtle, carried in sensation, attention, and tiny physical cues. Notice how you experience others. The unspeaking self registers tones, gestures, and expressions that escape conscious thought. It remembers them, not in words but in feeling. You respond to these memories without realizing why. Personality acts silently through them. Even decisions can be guided by this silent self. You may choose a path or avoid it without knowing why. No words explain the choice, yet the decision feels right, inevitable. The unspeaking self has shaped it long before thought enters language. Time feels different with this part of personality. It does not measure seconds or minutes. It notices patterns, rhythms, and flows. It senses urgency without counting. It senses calm without reasoning. Its perception is fluid, subtle, and deep. You may notice it most in moments of stillness, when you stop talking, stop planning, and stop reacting. The unspeaking self becomes more obvious because it is not competing with words or tasks. It observes quietly, gently, completely. This self also processes emotion differently, not in stories or explanations. It feels the texture of emotion, the weight of tension, the lightness of relief. Personality flows through these feelings without needing to define them. Even imagination carries its influence. Mental images arise. Thoughts form without language. The unspeaking self moves through these spaces effortlessly. It senses what is significant and what can be ignored. It operates on pattern, rhythm, and depth. You may notice a subtle sense of presence, a feeling that the mind is active without thought. This is the unspeaking self at work. It observes your internal world, the environment, and the people around you, silently shaping reactions and understanding. It is patient. It waits without rushing. It does not demand expression. It does not seek recognition. It only exists and allows the rest of personality to pass through it. The mind interacts with it naturally, though rarely consciously. Even micro-movements are guided by this silent layer. A pause in breath, a shift in eyes, a subtle change in posture. These are not rehearsed. They are instinctive, shaped by the unspeaking self's ongoing observation and response. You may find yourself reacting before words form. A thought enters. You feel tension or relief. A movement follows. The unspeaking self has acted first. Words only come later, if at all. Personality is already responding silently. It also carries influence in quiet learning. You watch, listen, sense patterns, and integrate them without speaking. The unspeaking self stores these experiences. It shapes responses to similar situations in the future, unseen and unspoken. Even preferences are guided by it. Tiny choices, unnoticed by the conscious mind, reflect this silent influence. Where you look first, how you tilt your head, the speed of movement. These are personality speaking without voice. You may wonder why some moments feel vivid yet impossible to describe, why you feel a reaction that cannot be put into words. This is the unspeaking self. It experiences directly, without translating thought into language. It works continuously, even in moments of rest. Sleep does not stop it. It observes micro patterns of attention, subtle emotional traces, and quiet physical shifts. Personality flows through this self, allowing deep processing without sound or thought. Even curiosity is shaped by it. You notice subtle gaps, questions without clear answers, and spaces of attention that draw your interest. The unspeaking self does not ask for explanation. It simply perceives, senses, and guides gently. This part of personality never competes. It does not need validation. It does not argue with other selves. It simply exists, quietly, holding space for observation, reaction, and understanding. Its presence is subtle but constant. Even when your mind is active with words, planning, or emotion, the unspeaking self operates beneath the surface. It watches, it notes, it integrates. Its influence is in timing, movement, attention, and subtle judgment. As you notice this layer now, sense how it feels. Present yet silent. Observant yet not demanding. It is a part of you that does not speak, yet shapes every moment. Personality is richer, deeper, and more complex because of this quiet observer. Even as sleep approaches, the unspeaking self continues to guide. Micro patterns settle. Attention relaxes. Reactions soften. Personality aligns with the stillness, guided by a self that never speaks but always shapes, observes, and exists. This is the side of personality that is always present but never heard. It is hypnotic, deep, and continuous. It watches without comment. It reacts without explanation. And it is entirely, quietly you. Even when you stop paying attention, personality does not stop. It keeps moving quietly, shaping thoughts, movements, and reactions without effort. The mind can wander, focus can fade, yet personality continues to guide, influence, and exist in subtle ways you may never notice. When focus disappears, decisions stop being conscious. Choices you would normally think through become automatic tendencies. The small preferences you hold, how you tilt your head, how you breathe, the rhythm of your attention take over. Personality continues operating without instruction. This is why you may notice patterns repeating when you are not fully aware. The way you react to small events, the way you choose comfort over effort, the way attention shifts without reason. These are personality in motion, quietly persistent. Even in moments of partial awareness, micro-decisions keep happening. When to adjust posture, when to pause or act, when to notice a sound or ignore it. Personality works behind the curtain, filling the gaps left by fading focus. You may notice thoughts moving on their own. They arise, transform, and settle without direction. Personality guides this flow. It selects, prioritizes, and organizes, even while your conscious mind wanders or relaxes. Some reactions feel inevitable. You do them before you realize why. A gesture, a posture, a small choice of attention. These are tendencies shaped over time, reinforced by countless invisible moments. Personality continues quietly, unconcerned with awareness. Even habitual movements rely on this invisible guidance. The way you shift weight, how your hands move while idle, the tilt of your head while listening. These patterns persist without observation, guided by the subtle hand of personality. Your mind may wander to images, thoughts, or ideas that seem unrelated. Yet personality is present in how you respond. It prioritizes some thoughts, allows others to fade, and integrates everything seamlessly. Even the unspeaking self plays a role here, influencing without words. Notice how comfort begins to take priority when attention fades. Personality moves toward ease naturally. Breathing softens. Posture relaxes. Micro movements become slower. Even minor decisions about space, touch, or gaze are guided toward comfort without your conscious choice. Small emotional reactions continue too. Personality selects responses that match patterns, not conscious reasoning. You may feel subtle tension, relief, or curiosity without understanding why. These feelings are shaped by ongoing personality processes operating quietly. Even imagination is guided. When you visualize a scene, your attention may wander through details without command. Personality shapes what you notice first, what you linger on, and what fades. The mind experiences depth without conscious effort. You may notice that thoughts connect differently when awareness softens. Ideas that seemed separate become linked. Small insights arise naturally, without force. Personality uses the absence of focus to explore patterns it cannot examine under full attention. Micro-patterns of movement continue too. The way you adjust limbs while sitting, the slight changes in breathing, tiny shifts in attention or gaze. Personality organizes these automatically, sustaining rhythm and flow. Even reactions to sound or touch are guided quietly. You may flinch slightly, adjust posture, turn attention. Personality orchestrates these responses without needing awareness. Decisions dissolve into tendencies, and tendencies continue without pause. The more your focus fades, the more personality takes over. Choices, movements, reactions, attention, they all flow automatically. Personality is constant, a quiet undercurrent beneath fading consciousness. This transition is subtle. It is not abrupt. You do not notice the handover from conscious decision to automatic tendency. Personality has always been shaping the unseen moments. Now, it simply guides more of them, unobserved, continuous. Even when the mind relaxes fully, personality continues shaping comfort, attention, and awareness. Small micro-decisions about position, posture, breathing, and thought preference occur without instruction. Personality is the silent engineer, working in the background. You may notice that repetitive tendencies become stronger. Choices you repeat over and over reinforce themselves. Personality maintains these patterns, ensuring stability even as conscious attention fades. This creates continuity and coherence, quietly preparing the mind for rest. Even internal timing changes. Personality adjusts rhythm, softening pacing of thought and movement. Tensions ease naturally. Attentional focus widens and narrows. Reactions slow. Personality orchestrates subtle internal adjustments that make relaxation possible. This is why sleep arrives seamlessly. Personality has already begun the process. The mind has prepared micro-patterns, tendencies, and reactions to align with rest. Attention may fade entirely, but personality continues guiding, shaping, and supporting the transition. Even memory operates silently during this phase. Personality calls on tendencies, patterns, and habits formed long ago. It does not rely on conscious recollection. The unseen layers continue organizing responses, creating a smooth flow from wakefulness to rest. You may notice sensations without identifying cause. Subtle tension, soft comfort, gentle curiosity. Personality shapes these experiences automatically. It allows experience to unfold without conscious direction. Awareness is partial, but personality remains whole. Small movements continue without thought. A shift in limbs, adjustment of blankets, tiny gestures of comfort. Personality guides them, ensuring ease and alignment with rest. These microactions are invisible but essential for seamless relaxation. Even emotional responses continue quietly. Mild curiosity, satisfaction, anticipation. Personality maintains balance, preventing sudden extremes. Reactions follow tendencies rather than conscious choice, supporting calm, continuity, and readiness for sleep. As focus fades completely, personality operates fully. Choices dissolve into tendencies. Micro-movements, attention, and reaction are guided automatically. The mind no longer needs to direct itself. Personality sustains order, rhythm, and depth in the absence of awareness. This silent operation creates a smooth path into sleep. Personality has already aligned movement, thought, attention, and emotion. All tendencies flow naturally. Awareness can let go. The mind is ready. The body is ready. Personality carries you the rest of the way. Even at the edge of sleep, personality does not stop. It observes, adjusts, and guides subtly. Tendencies continue without conscious intervention. Small reactions, posture, and breathing remain aligned. Personality remains constant, quiet, and unbroken as awareness fades entirely. Notice now how this feels. Personality is still active beneath the surface. Even as focus dissolves, it orchestrates movements, reactions, and attention. Decisions are no longer choices. They are tendencies flowing smoothly. Personality sustains you as sleep begins, continuous, unseen, and hypnotic. Even as sleep begins, personality does not stop. It continues quietly, like water moving beneath ice. Awareness fades, but the subtle currents remain. Tiny adjustments, shifts in thought, micro-movements, and preferences keep flowing. Personality continues its work without announcement. The mind may no longer form sentences. Thoughts become fragments, images, sensations. Personality moves through these fragments, selecting patterns, emphasizing certain flows, and leaving others untouched. Even in the absence of conscious thought, it continues to guide. Breathing shifts subtly as sleep deepens. Personality adjusts the rhythm, balancing ease and alertness. Micropauses lengthen. The body relaxes naturally. Personality does not need awareness to act. It is always present, even when consciousness disappears. Small micro-movements continue. Fingers shift lightly. Eyes adjust beneath closed lids. Posture shifts imperceptibly. Even these quiet movements are expressions of personality, occurring without thought, without plan. They are subtle, persistent, and continuous. Memory and habit continue to operate. Past patterns, learned preferences, and unconscious tendencies guide reactions to the environment, even if that environment is entirely internal. Personality does not pause simply because awareness does. The unspeaking self moves with ease in this state. Observation continues without words. Responses form without articulation. Personality senses rhythm, tension, and comfort. It integrates all layers, adjusting as consciousness fades further silently and seamlessly. Even emotions continue to flow. They are muted, subtle, without demand. Personality balances them, guiding how intensity rises or falls. A quiet curiosity or comfort may remain. A slight tension may dissolve slowly. These microadjustments happen without awareness, yet they are deliberate in their own subtle way. Personality also continues to organize attention. What surfaces in thought may be random fragments or faint impressions. Personality selects, integrates, and positions them without intervention. The flow is gentle, hypnotic, continuous, and unnoticed. Patterns of internal timing remain active. Micropauses, pacing of thought fragments, and rhythm of imagination continue. Personality adjusts these flows to maintain coherence and ease. Even in unconscious states, there is rhythm, guided quietly by unseen tendencies. Subtle influence of others persists. Borrowed fragments, tones, and patterns continue to echo in mind. Personality holds them in place, blending with natural tendencies. Even in sleep, these influences remain alive, quietly shaping perception, reaction, and alignment. Small traces of old tendencies continue. Ancient patterns, deeply ingrained habits, subtle gestures of thought or imagined movement, they all persist, silently active. Personality allows them to continue without instruction, without interruption, guiding continuity in absence of attention. Even novelty persists. New reactions, small sparks of awareness, and shifts in micro-patterns continue emerging. Personality does not rely only on what is known or repeated. It allows small innovations to appear, even as consciousness becomes fainter. The body continues to reflect these patterns. Tiny movements, adjustments in limbs, subtle shifts of breath, and postural microcorrections continue seamlessly. Personality directs these flows without awareness, maintaining rhythm and balance. Personality works in layers simultaneously. Ancient tendencies, borrowed fragments, fresh patterns, and unspeaking observation all continue, overlapping and interacting. The flow is complex, invisible, and continuous. It does not pause for sleep. It only moves differently, subtly, quietly. Even internal imagery persists. Thoughts without words, sensations without labels, and mental fragments continue moving through space. Personality guides them. It shapes what surfaces and what recedes. There is no control from conscious mind, yet the internal world remains organized and alive. Attention itself continues to operate. What appears, what is noticed, what is felt all still flow. Personality filters, balances, and orchestrates quietly. Micro-patterns of thought, focus, and feeling continue seamlessly. Even silence is active. The absence of noise allows subtle flows to emerge. Personality moves through quiet spaces, noticing, adjusting, and guiding without any need for instruction. Timing, rhythm, and alignment continue naturally. Micro-tendencies in emotion, thought, and gesture are integrated effortlessly. Personality does not announce them. They are part of continuous adaptation. Small shifts in focus, comfort, tension, and ease persist, unbroken and unobserved. Personality also manages the internal pacing of imagination. Even fragmented images, fleeting ideas, and abstract sensations continue to flow. Personality chooses their prominence, rhythm, and integration. Awareness is gone, but personality remains active. The flow of body, mind, and subtle emotion remains coherent. Microadjustments, pauses, tendencies, and reactions all continue quietly. Personality moves through them without need for awareness, creating seamless continuity. Even the tension between old and new patterns continues. Ancient tendencies and fresh sparks interact silently, creating depth, subtle contrast, and richness. Personality manages this interplay continuously, without instruction or pause. This ongoing activity is subtle, hypnotic, and continuous. There is no need for explanation, judgment, or conscious direction. Personality continues to move, adjust, and integrate like quiet water flowing beneath the surface. Even as sleep deepens, these processes continue. Micro-movements, attention, rhythm, memory traces, borrowed fragments, and subtle tendencies all persist. Personality remains active, alive, adjusting, and integrating. There is no closure here. No final moment. No conclusion to this movement. Personality continues seamlessly, quietly, and endlessly. Awareness has faded, but personality persists, subtle, complex, and continuous. Even now, as you rest, tiny reactions, preferences, adjustments, and flows continue. Personality is alive in the quiet spaces where consciousness no longer reaches. It shapes, aligns, and flows without need for words, thought, or awareness. The mind and body continue their quiet choreography. Personality moves effortlessly through layers of ancient patterns, borrowed fragments, fresh responses, and subtle tendencies. Even as sleep deepens, continuity persists, unbroken and invisible. Personality does not stop. It continues to adjust, integrate, and flow in the absence of attention. It guides the mind, the body, the subtle internal world. It is seamless, continuous, alive. Even in the stillest moments, personality persists. Micro movements, mental patterns, attention flows, and silent tendencies continue. Awareness is gone, but the currents of self remain quiet, active, and uninterrupted. There is no ending here, only continuation. Personality keeps moving unseen, unheard, and unbroken as consciousness fades entirely. It flows endlessly, a quiet current beneath sleep, shaping every layer, every movement, every subtle reaction without pause.